Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thanksgiving Eve episode of Did It Work? My name is Nina. I know you can't see me, but I am going to start my collard greens tonight. I cooked mine in the crock pot, so I'm going to do them overnight so that they'll be ready in the morning and I can transport them. So the first thing I've got to do is wash my collard greens. I washed out my sink and I'm going to just run some water and start rinsing them off in the sink and just placing them in there. Okay, so I've got these all rinsed off. So now I've got a big bowl over here that I'm going to just start kind of checking each one of them to make sure there's no bad spots on them. And if there are, tear them off and run them each under the water and stick them in this bowl. Okay, so now I've got them all rinsed off. And the next thing I've got to do is destem them. And I'm going to transfer them back into the sink so I can do another wash before I start chopping them. I take it. This is a baby one. I'll show you on a big one. Fold it in half and pull. This goes in the trash. This is going in the sink. Okay, here's a bigger one. You see this? Fold it in half, and it's got to crumble off of it all the way down. Pull that stem out. Trash, sink. Again, fold, pull, trash, sink through all of them. I'll be back. Okay, so I've taken the backbone off out of all of those, and this is the crock pot that I'm going to be using. Now, as I said, I want to do another rinse, and as I rinse them, I'm going to cut them. To make things easier, I'm going to just rinse them all at once. As I get them rinsed, I'm just going to take them and put them on my cutting board. Big ones, folding in half, putting there. I do still have my water running. If you want to conserve water, don't do that. Just rinse them and turn it off. I'm doing a bad thing, I know. Okay, so after you get a nice little small pile here, you want to take them and just roll them up. Roll them up. Take your knife and then just cut. As thick as you want them, as thin as you want them. I kind of go medium. Take them, stick them in your crock pot, and then repeat until you're done. We'll tell you a funny story about this. One of my children, which will remain nameless, called me and asked me about cooking the greens and got them all cleaned and everything and took the backbone out of them, was asking me about the seasoning and all that stuff. Thought it was going great. I even did a FaceTime just to make sure things were going okay. A few hours later, they did theirs in the crock pot as well. I get this phone call where they forgot to cut the greens. So they had these huge leaves of cooked greens in there. And it was so hilarious because they were huge. Even cooked down, they're huge. And so to remedy the problem, they took scissors and started the kitchen shears and just started cutting them down so that they would be more manageable to eat. So don't forget to cut them because they are really big leaves when it comes to serving them. And it would be a lot harder to actually eat. But it was so funny. I laughed so hard. Now, when you get to some of the smaller ones, just kind of do the same thing. Try to get them just as much into a pile as you can and still roll them and cut them because the whole point is we want these to be manageable bite sizes and not huge leaves. Okay, so that's my 3 bundles of collard greens. Now I'm going to clean my mustard greens. I do a 2-to-1 ratio, and since I did 3, I'm still just doing a 1 ratio. Same thing, we're going to put these in the sink and we're going to wash these. You can always use the other side of your sink. The other side of my sink is occupied, so I did not clean it out to do it. That's why I'm using a bowl. So I'm cleaning these as well, checking them to find any imperfections or whatever, and putting them in the bowl. Then I'm going to do the exact same thing again. I'm going to take the backbone out of these. This backbone's just too tough to be trying to eat. Putting them in the sink again so I can go through yet another wash with these. When I'm in the sink, I try to do 2 thorough run through wash with water just to get any dirt out of those leaves. Now with these, I'm just going to take them, kind of roll them up the same way and chop them. They're not quite as shapely as the collards. Some of them you do get, but you don't a lot of them. So I just put them in a nice little pile and roll them as much as I can and then just cut from there. The whole idea is manageable bite sizes. The meat that I choose to use is a smoked turkey leg. Now I bought my smoked turkey leg. I wrapped it in foil and I threw it in the oven for a little bit just to cook it so it's easier to fall off. And I just take it and I pull it apart and put the meat directly in the pot. I de-skinned it as well. Once it's cooked, this is so much easier to do versus when it's cold. So that's why I put it in the oven for a little bit. This tough meat right here, I don't put in there. I just pull it off or cut it off and just shred this by hand. I like meat in my greens, so that's why I'm not worried about getting them in really, really small pieces and using a knife. Not interested in that at all. You can take a knife to get it off the bone as well. It's probably a little more humane, but hey, we know how I am. When you come to a bone, get it out. Don't put the bones up in there. The bones, the gristles, none of them. Don't put them in there. Okay, I am done. I have all of this meat on the top of this that is just got to flavor this really, really well, cooked down in there. This is my bone. Look, I cleaned it real well. So if I had a dog would be eating real good right now, but I don't. So it's going into the trash. Okay, so once we have the collards, the mustard greens, the entire deboned, de-skinned smoked turkey leg, I have 1 red bell pepper and 1 yellow bell pepper. I like the colors. That is the reason why I use red and yellow. Then I have a white onion. Dice chopped all these up and I'm putting them in there. Okay, so here's the seasonings that I use for this. I have my liquid smoke. I'm using hickory because my turkey leg was hickory. I have my Lawry seasoning salt, garlic powder, and then I have crushed red peppers. I just put about this many crushed red peppers in here, and it's going to depend for you how much heat you want in here because this gives them heat. I don't like a lot of heat in mine. If you want heat in them, put some hot sauce in it afterwards. Then I'm going to put a generous amount of garlic powder, generous amount of seasoning salt, and not a generous amount of liquid smoke. Liquid smoke goes a long way, and too much, you can ruin your food. I'm going for a full capful that I'm just putting on top of there. That is it. Then the last thing that I do, I've really gotten to the point that I don't like cooking with unseasoned water. I got a little bit of chicken bouillon, and I'm going to say this is probably about 1 tablespoon that I'm going to put in there just to keep my water flavored. One of my kids asked me why I did it in the crock pot. The reason why I did it in the crock pot is I would do this in the morning, put it in the crock pot, put it someplace out of the way, and let it cook while I was making everything else. That way, by the time I'm done with everything else, the greens are done in the crock pot, and I didn't use a burner on my stove. That's why I used the crock pot. Now I'm just doing it overnight so that I can transport it in the morning, and by the time I'm ready to transport it, it'll be cooled down, so I'm not going to risk burning myself. Those are the reasonings why. Taste this as it cooks to adjust your seasoning to the way you like it. This is all I do. Nope. I almost forgot about my secret ingredient, and that's a little bit of sugar. Not a whole lot, so I'm going to say about 1 tablespoon of sugar that I'm going to put in there. My grandma did it this way. This is how I'm cooking mine, except for she just used green peppers and I want color in mine. Now I'm just got to put some water in here And this is going to cook down by about half after this gets on heat and the leaves start to wilt up. As I said, taste this as it's in its cooking process so that you can adjust the seasoning as you go. Okay, so I have it in my crock pot on low. I'm going to leave my seasonings out because I might have to season it as I check on it. I'll probably wake up through the night and check on it because I wake up in the middle of the night anyway. You don't have to. Check it in the morning if you need to, and if it needs more seasoning, put it in there and just let it keep cooking for a little bit longer so all those seasonings will blend in there. I'm going to go ahead and post this video tonight. There's going to be a part 2 tomorrow to do the tasting of it. So good night and look for part 2 for the tasting.